Morning. I love how StreamYard asks me twice if I'm ready to go live. Like I click the button and it's like, are you sure you want to go live? Are you ready? Um, Good morning. Oh my gosh. I think it finally works on Instagram. I think it finally works on Instagram. Oh my goodness. Oh my God. Let me just check real quick. Hey, good morning, y'all. Am I live on, if you're on Instagram, am I like live? Because I've been doing this for a couple of days now and it would not. Yes, okay. Instagram is finally live. I'm so happy. Woot woot. All right, welcome, y'all. This is day 11. Day 11. I don't know what day you may be on, but if you don't know who I am, my name is Devi Maisha. I am the Sensual Energy Alchemist. I am a master life coach and a sacred sexuality teacher, and my work centers around reconnecting Black women to their freedom, their sovereignty, and their power through their sensuality and their pleasure. And we have been working through the Abundance book. We've been talking about wealth and money and how you feel about money and all of the money things. That's what we are focusing on during these 40 days. If you're just joining in, that's perfectly fine. Let me say this to people who may be just joining on the first time, especially on Instagram, since I'm just going live. So give me a minute, y'all, while I explain it to the Instagram folks. So the Abundance book by John Randolph Price is the book that we have been using. Within this book, there are 10 statements. Each day you say a statement, you write a statement, right? You write it, you type it. At this point, whatever is going to work for you. And what I've been doing is going through the statement each day along with a teaching. So you can do this on your own. I've cataloged all of the videos on my YouTube channel. They are all on a playlist called Sensual Abundance. Actually, there are a couple of these that I have done over there, the 40 days going through each one. And this has, for me, has shifted my view of wealth and has shifted my view of money and has really helped me to yes, you can get more money doing this, but the bigger piece is that you start to see all of the areas in which abundance shows up in your life, which is really the thing that's needed in order for you to shift into wealth. That's really the thing that's needed. So last week, not last week, for the first 10 statements, we really went through our thoughts about money. This next 10 statements, we're going to focus on how we feel about money, because I believe in getting it from all the angles, getting it from both ends. Why is someone who talks about sex and sensuality talking about money? Listen, and, having the ability to do things and purchase things makes us feel better. Let's not lie about that. We feel better, we feel more sensual, we feel more open when our basic needs are taken care of. It is difficult to want to feel orgasmic and open and luscious when you're worried about bills and money. And it's also tied to our ability to receive, which let me make a mental note to get deeper into that during these next 10 statements. This is also tied to our ability to receive. And if you're having difficulty receiving in one area, then you're also going to have difficulty receiving in another area. So if you have difficulty receiving orgasms or allowing them to flow through you, there may also be a difficulty in you receiving wealth. And somebody might say, well, I know a lot of women who are getting their bag, they have money. But when you look at some of their lives, they're very, they can't make too many moves. They're stuck in a box and they're really just trying to get like the money, but they're not necessarily building wealth and they're still not necessarily able to receive help. They still have to do everything themselves. So it doesn't always correlate the same. Difficulty in receiving. I'm just making this mental note for myself. Okay, so today we are doing statement 1. Good morning to all of you who are joining. Today we're doing statement 1. Again, good morning, good morning, good morning, y'all on all the platforms now. I feel like feel so tech savvy. Okay. Statement one: God is lavish, unfailing abundance, the rich, omnipresent substance of the universe. This all providing source of infinite prosperity is individualized as me, the reality of me. Now, as I've stated before, and I will continue to state, replace the word God with whatever works for you. I don't want you to get hung up on this and try to make something work in your mind that's not going to work. Because my desire for you is that you don't just think the statements, but you feel them to be true. So let's talk about, let me do this first, and we're going to talk about feeling, then we're going to talk about what we're doing today. If the word God doesn't work for you, then replace it with the word goddess. Replace it with the word the creator, source energy, the universe, the great pumpkin, whatever works. Whatever helps you feel comfortable with the statement when you see that word. And the reason why I say that is because the word God is loaded with a lot of imagery that generally leans toward a dude that looks like Santa. And if you're a Black person looking to reframe how you see God and spirituality in your life, it is not helpful for you to be picturing God as a big white dude with a beard. And for so many of us, whether we want to admit it or not, that is the imagery that somehow got put in our minds, especially for many of us with Gen X who still grew up with like a wavy haired, very translucent looking Jesus. It only made sense that his dad looked like Santa, okay, sitting in a cloud somewhere. So if you're someone who's on the path and the journey and the word God is too loaded with a lot of angst for you, pick another. If you're someone who the word God works for you, then use it. I makes no never mind to me. I mean, John Randolph Price might object, but he's also a white dude who probably doesn't mind that thinking that God looks like Santa. Okay, so that's why I say that whatever works for you. So let me talk about the feeling part of it and the difference between understanding something intellectually and then also feeling it in your body as what's true. And a lot of us don't understand the difference. What I've often used as an example for people to really feel it, if you hmm, if I tell you your name, this reminds me of Roots. If I tell you your name is rock, paper, scissors. Nobody's name is that. I don't think who's looking at this at all. If I tell you your name is rock, paper, scissors, how does that feel for you? Like what happens when I say your name is rock, paper, scissors? And I just want you to like just notice what happens. If I ask you, what is your name? And you say it, how does that feel? And we have to get into how we feel in the body. And for a lot of people, and especially deeply melanated people and melanated people in general, we have survived as long as we have by dissociating or not really feeling too deeply into our bodies for a variety of reasons. But it has been part of our survival mechanism that we suppress how we feel. Many of us grew up in, and I'm gonna tie this into money and what we're doing in a minute. Many of us grew up in households where feelings were not particularly allowed. You certainly weren't allowed to get angry. Many of us understood that in the society we live in, we could not get angry. We had to try and approach things with a smile in order to be placated, right? And so that anger goes somewhere because we're human, so we feel anger. Many of us grew up in households where we couldn't feel sadness. Hence the phrase that people use, be quiet before I give you something to cry about. We grew up understanding that whatever it was we were feeling at 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 years old, by the time we got to the age of 7, we had learned how to mask or had or created coping mechanisms in order to deal with whatever emotions were floating around underneath. Some of us just ended up depressed. I was one of those. Depression is often an outcome of suppressing emotions. You're just exhausted. You're exhausted from doing it all. Some of us ended up with anxiety, which is all of that energy that wants to come out, but every time it wants to, we kind of push it back down again. And that back and forth can cause us to, it starts to get frightening. Like, no, 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 no. So as we continue along with this, I want you to see how you feel about money and how you feel about wealth, because that's going to tell you a lot more than how you think about it. So that exercise about your name was just for you to kind of see what it is to feel something in your body. Because a lot of us don't know what's true for us. So you'll sit and you'll watch someone like me, and I'll say something to you, and you'll just kind of go along with it. Like if I said, God is lavish and feeling, and let's just do that, and you're just going to go along with it, not realizing that that word is a problem for you because you have blocked off how things feel. Which is why I say the things that I say, because you still might not be feeling it in your body, but somewhere in your mind, now it's like, oh, I can do something different. Okay. And I want you to notice whenever you are listening to a teacher, a guide, when you're choosing a mentor, a coach, don't just look at what they say or how pretty their Instagram is. Also see how you feel about it. We need to start tapping back into those intuitive pieces, because that also helps us with wealth. So I'm going to read statement one again, and then there's some words that I want you to write down or come back to the replay and do. And your exercise for today is going to be around how you feel about those words. Okay. So the statement for today, and I'm going to switch up the word just so y'all can see how it sounds. Source energy is lavish, unfailing abundance, the rich, omnipresent substance of the universe. This all-providing source of infinite prosperity is individualized as me, the reality of me. Now, I taught on statement one before, but let me just briefly do it again for those of you who may be joining me for the first time, especially if you're on Instagram and finally got on here live. What this statement is saying is that the thing, the energy, the God, the goddess, the source, the creator, the thing that created the trees, the stars, the moon, that all, if you believe in that, like if you're atheist, then I don't know, this might not be for you, right? We could take a different route. But that source energy not only exists out here, but it is also you. It is like taking a scoop. I use this example. It's like taking a scoop of water from the ocean. You are the cup that the water is in. It came from the ocean. It came from source, but it is now in you, in the cup. So you are part of that. And because you are part of all of that, all of these things are now true. So that is the first statement that we start with. All of these things are now true because you are part of this rich, omnipresent substance, this abundant substance. And since you are part of this substance and it is part of you, you are infinitely abundant. There's no shortage of star in the sky. There is no shortage of abundance in your life. And it does not always look like money. If you're in the Facebook group, the people who are in the Facebook group have been showing up and showing out in all of the ways that abundance is showing up in their lives, in cash ways and in non-cash ways. So when you get a chance, you can go back and watch the replays. There, like I said, they're on YouTube under a playlist. Take time with it. It's all right with it. Do it each day. You don't have to like binge watch them. As a matter of fact, I'd prefer you don't do that. All right. So now, how you feel about money. If you were here from day one, we wrote our money story. Okay, I had everyone write down their story, what they were told about money, So it's, whatever, it's hard to come by, money doesn't grow on trees, we can't afford it, all whatever all of that is, what your money story was when you were growing up. And then I think day 2 or 3, we kind of went into how do you respond to money? Do you respond to money by fighting? You gotta get it all, you gotta work yourself to death, you have to have 3 and 4 jobs kind of thing. Do you respond to money in a flight way? You just run from it. You don't look at bills, you don't look at your statements, you just kinda you're it's a wing and a prayer, you're hoping money is there. Right? Are you freezing where you're in a panic mode? You know something is coming up, but you haven't made provisions for it. And now that it's here, you're like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to do. We talked about those different ways you respond to money. And we talked a little bit about money trauma. And this ties into how do you feel about money? Yesterday, I talked about how we think we want a lot of money, like we think we do, because hello, I mean, who doesn't want to go on vacations and actually be able to, get shoes that fit or really good dental work, or maybe you just want floss. I don't know. You want to get your cars, whatever it is. We all have our reasons for why we'd like some extra coin. But we also talked about, especially for melanated people, how there's a flip side of that. There's a danger to us that is embedded in many of us due to especially those of us in the Western Hemisphere, and especially those of us in the United States, where there's a danger to having too much wealth. Like you have too much, somebody's gonna get you. And we've got many a rap song that let us know this, right? But you have too much, it's someone's gonna come after you. There's a paranoia and an anxiety that starts to come along with having too much money. And we talked about this baseline that we're all sometimes at, where this is my comfort level with money. Maybe it's chaos. I'm comfortable here. Maybe it's just getting by. I'm comfortable here. And too much money, although we say we want it, starts to make us feel some kind of way. We want to work through that so you don't feel some kind of way. And I don't know that we're necessarily going to do it in the 40 days. We can do more of that kind of work down the road. But I do want to bring it to your attention so that however you choose to work on it as life goes on, you do. Because that's one of the barriers to wealth for us is how we feel about money. And it makes sense. I may talk a little bit more about that later on. All right, so you're going to write down a couple of words. If you want to, you can think about them right now. Come back to the replay later if you can't write it down. So here's some words that when they are said, I want you to notice how you respond. I'm going to say the word and I want you to take a moment and see if something happens in your body. Something. The first word is cash. Cash. And I want you can write it down, but I want you to notice there's a, if your body feels, let me give you some contrast real quick. I'm going to say a couple of words because I need you to compare and contrast. Mug. I feel like I'm on Sesame Street. Mug. Hammer. Pillowcase. Cash. Money. Dividends. Abundance. Wealth. Rich. Dollars. So the words for you are cash, money, dividends, abundance, wealth, rich, and dollars. And I want you to sit with those and I want you to notice how your body feels. The goal here, if there is one, The goal here is neutrality. So if I say pillowcase, you're like, yeah. If I say trees, if I say rich, for some of us, there's still a yeah. For some of us, there might be something that gets tight in the throat. Maybe you feel a little throb in your head. Maybe your chest kind of like, maybe you stop breathing for a minute and you don't even realize it. Maybe you get a pain somewhere in your body. If I say wealth, how does your body respond? And maybe when you hear all of these, what you feel is this just like steel, like a block. And there's no judgment around any of this. This is what somatic work does. This is what embodiment work does. And so let me explain to you why we're doing this if this is something that's new for you. I talked about yesterday how we are this brain and this stem, right? We are a ganglia of nerves. We are a bunch of wires. And what happens when we have experiences is the experiences get cataloged through the wires, and they get cataloged based on how we feel. And then our reticular activating system in our brain helps us to catalog it to decide if this is something we should avoid or if this is something that's okay. Is this danger or not? It's really primitive how we work. It really is. Just on that basic physiological level. So if you were a child who was in the store and you wanted something and you grabbed a box of something off because they put the colorful boxes down where the little people can see them, and you hold it up to a parent proudly displaying all of the rainbow colors, and you're so excited about it. And in your 3 or 4-year-old mind, sure, you want the box. You don't really know what's in it. It looks kind of yummy and it looks like whatever, but your caregiver is stressed and they yell at you, put that down, or smack it out of your hand, or some other thing, and you're in shock. I just I wanted the thing and now it's gone. The pain comes in, you want to cry. Don't you cry in this store. I've seen this happen. Cut that out. Fix your face. A couple of things are not happening. One, what I desire is a bad thing. What I want is a bad thing. It makes other people angry. So let me not want too much. Two, I can't be upset. And I can't be upset about not getting what I want either. I can't do any of that. Three, shame. I feel a lot of shame right now. I'm embarrassed. And at 3 and 4 years old, you don't, you're not logically running through this, but this is what's happening. It gets cataloged in your body as a reminder to keep you safe. We don't want to have that experience again. It's just designed to keep you safe. So now, as an adult, you have some desires, right? Those desires cost some coin. Maybe you want some more coin. And you're working and you're thinking you're doing the things, but you've had enough. And that's not a one time, that could be a one time event, but guaranteed it happened more than once to many of us. So we got the message, right? But in your cataloged way deep in the recesses of all of that is it's not actually really safe for me to want anything. And it's not safe for me to have it. I don't even think I know why. And the story doesn't matter at this point. Like, you don't need to go back digging to find out all of your origin stories. But it's just now that you're an adult, you got to stay away from all of that. Another example, your caregivers, because it could be parents, grandparents, you know how we do in our community. It could be aunt, auntie, could be foster care. There's a constant argument about money, arguing about money. It's never enough, this and that and the other. These kids or whatever happening, it's unfair, all of that. There's a couple of different outcomes with that as a child, from a child's point of view, because we catalog the world from a child's point of view. Hence why all the relationship fuckery is happening, because people are actually relating to each other from their inner 4, 5, and 6-year-old, not as actual adults. And that's kind of dangerous, okay? So here are a couple of things that happen. From a child's point of view, it's not safe to deal with money. That causes a lot of stress. I don't want no parts of that. Imma ignore it. I don't wanna have nothing to do with it. Mm-mm. Or, I ain't never gonna be in that position. Just watch. I'm gonna be the one with all the cash. Imma work my 2 and my 3 and my 4 jobs. You know what I'm saying? Imma get my 4 hours sleep, but Imma be out here grinding. I won't have time for pleasure. I won't have time for relationships. I don't have time for anything else. Imma get mine. That's what it is. How you feel about money, not how you think about it, how you feel about it is a large piece of what is happening in your external financial world. How you feel about abundance internally, abundance being the idea that there's more than enough. And if you are a Black person, we have gotten the message so many times that there's not enough. There's not enough. It's scarce out here. The struggle is real. It's rough in these streets. There's not enough at all. But what this statement one is saying is that the creator is lavish, unfailing abundance. The thing that created you is lavish, unfailing abundance, the rich, omnipresent substance of the universe, and that this all providing source of infinite prosperity is individualized as you. So if that's the case, then the idea of there's not enough is false. It's a story that's been passed down and handed down to us to keep us safe, to help us avoid disappointment. Because our caregivers really were trying to prepare us for the real world. They didn't want us to be disappointed and hurt. They wanted us to understand the harsh realities of life. But now in 2024, that's now still keeping us from understanding that there's more than enough. There's no limit to the blades of grass, the stars in the sky. I use this example. There's no limit to the air in your lungs. You do not wake up wondering, will there be air today? I don't know. Is there enough air? No, you just assume that you're going to take a breath in and take a breath out. And if you imagine what would happen if you had that same relaxed feeling, and that's what truth is. That same feeling that you have about how air is just going to be in and out, the same way you know what your name is. That's the feeling we want to get to when it comes to cash, dividends, wealth, rich, abundance, dollars, money. That same feeling. Does that make sense to y'all? Sometimes that once was enough. Yeah, I feel tense and anxious. Now, this is why I want you to start. And this is not, we're not blaming caregivers. Look, I broke it down the other day. You have to understand that we here are creating something brand new. The chattel slavery system that legally ended in 1863 was finalized, hence Juneteenth in 1865, was a little more than 100, like 150 years ago. right? Don't get my math. Don't get me on that. Even after that, though, for another 100 years, after 1865, for a good another 100 years, there was still, even though there wasn't slavery, there was torture and terror and abuse. There was, oh, they have a bank, burn it down. No, you can't come here. No, you can't have this opportunity. No, you can't be over here. So there's still things being dealt with. There were no sister circles, y'all. There were no men's circles. There was no therapy. And in the midst of all of that was the Great Depression. My grandparents lived through the Great Depression. So not only is there no drinking at specific fountains, not only is there you can't go here, there, or anywhere, not only is it these are the job opportunities available to you, not only is it you better get your ass home before the sun goes down, town type of thing, but now there is real scarcity because the stock market crashed. There's no food to be found. It is rough. That affects how people view the world. It affects how they raise their children. It affects their level of frustration. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of living in fear. So I'm part of Gen X. My parents, God bless them, they my particular parents came up in the civil rights era, and they were part of like Black nationalism. And you know black is beautiful, and so I grew up with that, but they were still afraid. There was still fear. My mother, up until the day she passed away, when paramedics would come and get her last year, and not last year, God, it's still this year. Paramedics come and get her, she would brag about how she worked 12 hours a day, 2 jobs. She was 69. She was a fighter, right? My mother was an overtime worker. She would work 60, 70 hours a week. Right? That's the era that I come from. My dad didn't want to have nothing to do with the white man's corporate America. Neither do I, but not a lot like my father. But that made for a very unstable financial situation in my house. And there were arguments about money between my mom and my dad. There were arguments about money, about my mother wanting to spend some because she worked, and my father wanted to hold on to what we got. And they it was a lot happening. So what happens with me? Right? And that's why the money story is important. Now what happens with me? Okay, well now I've got a lot more opportunities. I'm a 70s baby. Colleges is a little bit more open. The expectation isn't just that I can be a secretary at the time. There a lot more openings and what I can do with my life and my work. And oh, there's therapy now because I went to therapy. So I can go to therapy to start to deal with my issues. My parents didn't have those options to deal with the trauma they went through. My father's mother, because she grew up in the Great Depression, because money was scarce, would lock the refrigerator. Not because she didn't love her children, though I don't know, sometimes that's debatable, but because she had to make sure there was food. But imagine being a child. Now you're my father, and you can't get in unless your mama says, I'm gonna unlock this and you can eat. So now my father, hi daddy, if you watch this on LinkedIn. So now my father grows up and we're not spending the money on nothing. Does your shoe have a hole in it? Can we tape it up? kind of kind of thing, right? So I want you to I'm telling you this because I want you to understand that a lot of what we learned about money and wealth and abundance really came from scarcity and fear from real life situations that were happening. Right? Because I love the woo woo, but let's just be real about where we're coming from here as well. And sometimes, unfortunately, when someone is frustrated and they really want to give their child something, they feel shame. We talked about money shame. they feel shame that they can't. And so when their cute little child comes up to them with the box of cereal, because emotional intelligence wasn't taught, guess what happens? Put that shit back, because I'm really ashamed. I don't have enough money for any of it. What's wrong with you? You think we have money like that? Because I'm really ashamed that I don't have it. But I can't deal with that right now. I I just need you to not remind me of it by asking for shit. Don't ask me for shit. When we go in this store, don't ask me for nothing. I don't have time to deal with my anger and my shame. I have to survive. And I'm saying this because we need to have grace and compassion. Listen, I'm not, don't, you don't got to go back and start loving on people who treated you wrong. Okay. But the historical understanding of where so much of that came from, it wasn't about you. But in your child's mind, you made it about you. In your child body, you made it about you. And so now, as an adult who may be trying to figure out your money, you're trying to figure out, what did I do? What they did wasn't about you. So you can free yourself from carrying their shame and their guilt and their anger. You is free now to create whatever wealth you want for whatever lifestyle you need. Is this making sense for y'all? Yes, they're all still afraid. A lot of people still afraid. A lot of people still living. And I want to say this: it's not just the United States, because colonialism has done a number on the diaspora as well, right? So if you are watching this and your family comes from, the Caribbean is part of the Western Hemisphere, but that comes with its own fears. If you're from West Africa, that comes with its own fears. This idea of colonialism and capitalism and wealth from a white man's point of view has done a job on us in a lot of different ways. We're a very collective people. There's nothing wrong with that, except for, let's allow people to actually be who they are. And sometimes the collective doesn't do that out of fear of losing the tribe. But the individualistic way of being is not our nature. And when we try to pursue wealth that way, it doesn't work for us either. But we're not going to get into that today. All right. So I hope all of this lands. I feel like I've given y'all a lot to consider and think about in terms of how your money stories have impacted not just how you think about money, but how you really feel about it. Because many of us make money moves based in fear. We're not actually making money moves based in the idea that we are part of abundance. We're making money moves based on fear of not having or having too much, scarcity. And when we make moves based in fear, it has a really icky effect. I don't have a good word for that, y'all, except for icky effect. But when we believe and trust that it is open, when we believe and trust that it is safe, we can scale back our jobs. We don't have to work, you know, 3 and 4 and 5 jobs. We can take a day off. We can enjoy life. We don't have to keep hoarding the money, right? Because we're not going to take it with us. We're not. It's not going in. It's not going with us. Okay. We can set some aside for our children and our grandchildren if we like to do that, and then enjoy it. Enjoy it. When we trust and we feel safe, we can pursue abundance in many different ways. We don't have that same fear that things are not going to show up for us. We trust that we're not going to die of starvation. If you're watching this, you have a mechanism to look at this. So you're doing better than a lot of the globe. You most likely will not die of starvation. And then it frees you up to be creative. And especially for Black women, we are the creators. We are the blueprint. If Henrietta Lack's story taught you nothing else, we are the blueprint. Genetics will tell us that embedded in our DNA, ours, is the code for everybody who walks on this planet. We are abundance. We are walking abundance. Every other person on this planet doesn't carry those codes. We have everything in us. We are creators. Pay careful attention to a society that seeks to keep you distracted from your creation with fuckery and bullshit. Pay attention to a society that seeks to keep you afraid, because in doing so, that keeps you from your creative power. It keeps you in survival mode, it keeps you in scarcity, and it keeps you fighting against other women and against our men. There's no reason, if you live in a world of abundance, for you to worry about men or a shortage of men if you live in an abundant world. I don't care what the statistics say. I'm not going by that. I'm going by the fact that I am an individualized piece of something that is unfailing abundance. Why am I going to worry about somebody's statistic? If I want to get, find, have a man, let me be open to it, not afraid. You understand? This is why it is so important for us to really deal with this abundance issue, because when we get free from it, whew, we start introducing our children, nieces, and nephews to a different way of relating and a different way of being. We don't need to be worried about trying to squeeze in and sit at other people's tables and let me in. No, no. We just build our own. Tyler Perry won't be the only one with a studio. Well, we got 5, 6 more coming. Taraji don't have to worry about how she's getting paid. Her people got her back. You understand? When we understand how abundant we are, it shifts everything. All right. That's right. No shortage over here. All right. So you're going to journal on how each of those words have you feel in your body. And what I want you to do is to you've got the words. I'll say them again. And you can throw in any others that you can think of that symbolize money for you. Cash, money, dividends, abundance, wealth, rich, dollars. You're going to take a moment, give yourself, like, you can set a timer if you want, give yourself a minimum of 60 seconds. And I don't need you in your head. How do I feel about cash? How do I feel about cash? Just literally sit and just say the word cash and just be quiet. Just be quiet. See what comes up. Don't force it. Just allow it to present itself to you. And if it's nothing, just don't worry about it. You might be good to go. Or if something's like, nah, I'm not good, I know something's in there, it might take a minute, because it might be like, is it safe for me to come out and let them know how I feel about this? Because the last time I was talking about how I felt about money, I got smacked across the face. I don't know. It might take your body a minute to trust that it's okay. So maybe do it once a day for the next week and see what happens each day. Maybe do it once a day, each word. Takes maybe 5 minutes, and just see how you feel about it. And that's going to give you more information. I know how I felt about money. I know how I used to feel about it. How I feel about it now when I say the word, for instance, money, there is so much joy. Like it's excitement. It's like going to an amusement park. Cash, dollars, dividends. It's like, ooh, like I'm like, yes, what's coming? What ride are we getting on? That was not always the case. I would think about money and there would be this tightness in my chest. I almost couldn't breathe for a minute. It just got tight in my body. Stress, fear, all of that. You know, it was like, oh, it felt like trouble. That's something I never, it felt like trouble. I just realized that as I was talking to y'all right now. Right. So that's what you're going to do this week. If you're in the Facebook group, I'd love to hear you talk about it. If you want to join in the Facebook group, you can. I probably won't be active in there past maybe February 2nd. There are some people who are on day like 9 of this, day 8. So I'm a hang out for them. For the rest of you, I suggest if you're just coming into this, go ahead and go to YouTube and start at day 1. And you can do this on your own. Everything is in there. Okay. Trouble. Money for me was trouble. That's not now though. Now money to me it's like orgasms. It's like air. How much would I like to have? I get to decide. It is not decided for me. I get to decide. That's how I want your money to be like your air. I want your orgasms to be like your air, and I want your money to be like your orgasms. Pleasure. Even when you're dealing with the taxes, right? Even when you're dealing with the reconciling the funds, it's pleasure. So excited. Let's see what happens. Okay. So the statement for today is statement 1. Day 11, statement 1. God is lavish, unfailing abundance, the rich, omnipresent substance of the universe. This all providing source of infinite prosperity is individualized as me, the reality of me. I'm going to read it one more time. Goddess is lavish, unfailing abundance, the rich, omnipresent substance of the universe. This all providing source of infinite prosperity is individualized as me, the reality of me. Happy New Year's Eve, everyone. We are closing out 2023. I'm excited to get the hell out of this year. I am looking forward to 2024. It is an 8-year. It is a year of wealth. Please pay attention to what's being said in the financial world, but don't let that dictate all of your moves. If you believe that you are part of something greater, pay attention, but don't let that encase you in fear. Okay? You're playing by a different set of rules here. And everybody might not have access to those rules just yet. I'm not worried. This is about to be the year where it's gonna blow up. I've said it on video, so that's what it is. Now y'all can come back to me at the end of the year. You said you was gonna blow up, and did. You just might not have seen me talk about it. Okay? Go forth. I hope you all have a wonderful day today. I hope you are surrounded by love, however that shows up for you in your life. May you have a very, very, very happy New Year's Eve. I am sending you well wishes and energy for the most abundant year you have had yet. So whatever it's been before, may it be 10 times greater in 2024. I will be back here tomorrow morning on New Year's Day. Yes, I will. Okay? What a great way to bring in the new year, talking about the abundance. All right. Have a good day, y'all. Bye.